ended up looking at this Traska watch. I'm going to tell you a story that might embarrass someone, but I won't use their name. So, over a year ago, I was walking in my neighborhood when someone yelled out, "You're terrific!" And I turned and I looked, and there was a dude holding his wrist up and saying, "I'm wearing a Tudor Black Bay." I'd never seen this guy before, but he knew my channel and knew I lived in Portland, and I guess recognized my face, such that it is. We talked, we exchanged numbers, and a few months later, he bought a watch from Traska. He, this anonymous neighbor, he spoke so highly of Traska that after a while, I finally decided to look at this, the new Venturer GMT watch. Had it not been for my neighbor's huge Black Bay to yell at me as I passed his house, this video would never have happened. So the lesson is, if you see something, say something. And I'm glad he said something, because this right here, this is a really interesting watch, really appealing to me. But there's a lot of affordable GMT watches out there these days. It's awesome. I love the variety, but it's also overwhelming. In making this video, I came across list after list of the best affordable GMT watches or GMT watches under $1,000. And there's stuff out there that even I haven't heard about, and I'm a watchaholic. I'm addicted to watchahol. And honestly, this Traska GMT was kinda just another random affordable small brand GMT to me. But it's not anymore, not to me. Some facts about this watch. There are 4 dial variations of the Venturer GMT. The one I have here is called Steel Blue. They all come on bracelets and they all list for $720. 38.5 millimeters across, 46 millimeters long, and 11.8 millimeters thick. It has 20 millimeter lugs, drilled lugs, which is great. It has a sapphire crystal, 150 meters of water resistance, and again, comes on a bracelet. And what's interesting about this bracelet, at least one of the things about the bracelet and the case, is that they're made of 316L stainless steel that's been hardened to make them more scratch resistant. See, untreated 316 steel is hard to about 200 hardness Vickers. The steel here is hardened to 1200 Vickers, 6 times the hardness of normal steel. The steel looks the same, it's just far less likely to scratch. I even took a sharp spring bar tool and tried to scratch this watch somewhere. And I'm not telling anyone where, because honestly I forgot where I tried to scratch it and I can't find the location because guess what? There's no scratch there. This is all pretty unusual for a watch at this price. 1200 hardness Vickers. One day I hope to have a unit of measurement named after me. 1 Evan is equal to 7 inches, and my wrist just happens to be exactly 1 Evan around. And on my 1 Evan wrist, this is just great. 38.5 millimeters is going to work for a lot of people, especially the majority of watch nerds with their underdeveloped musculature. But really, it looks good to me at this size. And it's certainly comfortable, less than 12 millimeters thick and just 46 millimeters long. It sits well. There's really nothing remarkable about the feel of this watch on the wrist except that it's unremarkable, which is kind of ideal. And one thing that makes this comfort so remarkably unremarkable is the new clasp. Inside the clasp is a push-button adjustment system. That's new to this version of the Venturer. Pushing the button lets you adjust the length in 1.5 millimeter increments to 5 positions, so that's a total of 7.5 millimeters. I love that this is here, and it works pretty well. It takes some pressure to press the button, and the movement between settings isn't perfectly smooth, but it does the job. I think it really is the best system I've seen for under $1,000. The funny thing is, though, I haven't needed it. Maybe it's because the weather is cooler, but I found that this watch is light enough that I can wear it kinda loose when I'm cold, and so I haven't needed the adjustment system when I warm up and my wrist size gets slightly bigger than 1 Evan in circumference. Inside the watch is the Miyota 9075, which is a big little deal because this is a truly affordable flyer-style GMT movement. You may hear some people with ungood brains refer to this as a true GMT movement. That's a terrible name. All GMT movements are true GMT movements. How a flyer-style GMT works is that the local hour hand jumps and sets the date, while the minutes hand and the GMT hand are linked and set together. The flyer is great for, get this, people who fly. This is the best style of GMT movement to have if you're traveling between time zones. Sometimes it's called the Traveler GMT. While the other style, the caller style, is better if you're in one time zone but calling people in other time zones. Get it? Caller. I have a need for both styles. I like them both. I'm mostly doing calling myself, but I get the appeal of a flyer. And this watch can work for tracking a third time zone by using the inner rotating bezel to create an offset. The inner bezel has 72 clicks, which means you can also use this to track some of those freaky time zones that are 30 minutes or even 15 minutes offset. Those places really exist and they should be ashamed of themselves. The 24-hour ring has lume along with everything else you'd expect. The lume is good, it helps, not spectacular, but more gooder than a lot of watches at this price. What really works for me with this watch is the design. It's not vintage inspired, it's not overly aggressive or stylized, but it's all very good looking to me. I really like the baton hands. That's one example of not being overly stylized. Same with the markers, simple, legible, classic, but not trying to look like a watch from the 50s. The date at 6 o'clock is another big plus for me. I like when the dial maintains some symmetry. And I like the colors. The dial and chapter ring are the same type of grayish blue, and then the orange text and the orange GMT hand. That's really a nice combo. And it might be hard to tell from the video, but the sapphire crystal has a nice shape, flat and boxed. That's when the crystal extends past the steel bezel. It's a very cool look to have that kind of refraction from the sides. Now, I messed around in Photoshop to see how the watch might look with a split GMT bezel just to add some more color or some contrast, and I like it, but I think I might prefer the original. But Traska, you're welcome to steal these designs, they're nothing special. But for me, the watch is special just as it is. If I were in the market for an affordable GMT watch, this is the one I'd go for. All the things I've been talking about, the hardened steel, the dimensions, the design, the movement, the price. Now there are cheaper GMT watches out there, pretty nice ones, including a bunch from Seiko that are about half the price of this Traska. But this works so much better for me. Again, if I was in the market for an affordable GMT watch, but I'm not. I have enough GMT watches. I do. I really... Do I, though? Do I? Yeah, I do. But I'll bet you don't. I'll bet you can't go another week without an archaic, dual time zone mechanical watch. There's a hole in your life and only a watch can fill it. A watch will solve all your problems. And while I'm telling jokes, here's another one for you. I made a belt out of watches. It turned out to be a total waste of time.